Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It is absolutely gorgeous out here today. The water temperatures are getting up into the 60s. I've got 62 and I'm out on the main lake right now. I've popped into a couple of creeks and checked the backs of pockets and stuff, and it wasn't warmed up yet, but then again, I've only checked a couple. So today we're going to be using the Deep Dive app, and we're going to be fishing side by side with whatever the app recommends. I'm going to share with you guys some of the features of this app and what I think some of the positives are. A couple weeks ago, Johnny Schultz reached out to me from Fish the Moment. If you guys, I guarantee you've seen one of his videos. If you've watched anything that has to do with graphing, whether you wanted to learn how side imaging or down imaging works and what a fish looks like on that, I guarantee you've seen one of his videos. But anyways, he reached out to me and asked if I was interested in promoting an app that he's working on alongside a few other people called Deep Dive. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Most fishing apps, what can you really gather from them, or what can they really teach you? What can you really learn? What stood out to me about Deep Dive is that their team has gone in and taken a ton of data from tournaments, and they've basically taken winning strategies or winning patterns, and they've put them together with the body of water, but two, the weather pattern and water temperature, and they give you a list of different patterns that you should try. So I'm going to pull Deep Dive up real quick, show you guys what this looks like. You've got a bunch of different parameters up at the top that you can change. You can go and change the lake. I think there's like 1,500 lakes on the list, and they're adding another 1,500 or 2,000, something like that. Pretty cool. But first things first, you can see that you have the parameters that you can change up at the top. You got your water color, clear, stained, dirty, temperature, whether you're fishing a windblown area or protected area, and then you can add in if the lake you're fishing has vegetation or not. So this lake does have a little bit of vegetation, it's just not really growing in yet. So I'm gonna set that at no. Windblown, there's like less than 5 miles an hour of wind. I'm just gonna say protected areas, and because I wanna get back into some of these creeks. Water temp, let's see, 62, and it is stained. So you have an option for sunrise, morning, afternoon, and sunset. I'm gonna set that to afternoon. And we've got a jig, shaky head, stick worm, creature bait, buzz bait, finesse jig, soft jerk bait, square bill, swim jig, swing head, wacky rig, Ned rig, Nico rig, plopping bait, popper, a walking topwater, and that's just for the shallow setting. So we're gonna throw this GoPro on and we're gonna get to fishing. I'm gonna run into some backwaters and hopefully be able to find something. That was awesome. Oh no, he popped free. That was a decent bass. He ate it like topwater. I skipped the swim jig up to that tree. I didn't even see it, I just heard whoosh. Didn't get the greatest hook set on him. All right, it's a good sign. Shallow. I'm like back in a cut, way back. Some backwater, 1.3 feet. That was like looked like a 3 to 4 pounder. All right, so since I've started using the app, taking its suggestions and throwing a swim jig back in this backwater area with cypress trees, I've gotten 3 bites. And the first 2.5 hours of the day, had none. There we go. Texas rig fish, healthy, probably 2 3/4, really healthy fish. Awesome, see buddy. So since there's very little wind right now, granted I did get bit on the swim jig, I wanted to slow down just a little bit, kind of work something, drag it, hop it around. Let's keep flipping. I'm in 1.9 feet right now. So that fish was, I mean, it couldn't have been any deeper. It's not more than 2.5 feet back here. And the app said to fish backwater, and this is definitely something I would consider to be backwater. So something that I've noticed is that every fish that I've gotten to bite today has been kind of on a standalone either pear or single cypress tree nearest the channel. When we're coming up here to this swing, I'm probably going to flip to most of those cypress trees, but the tree with the highest percentage to catch a fish, I believe, is going to be the one right out on the point. Come here, buddy. Don't know if that was the same fish that bit. Another one on the Texas rig there. Boat's in 6 feet right now. That fish was probably in 2 or 3. All right, pulling up into our second backwater spot of the day. We've got afternoon, water temp 62, stained water, no wind, no grass. So we got jig, shake head, stick worm, creature bait, buzz bait, finesse jig, soft jerk bait. Should put that on. Square bill, swim jig, swing head, wacky rig, Ned, Nico, a couple top waters. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start flipping a jig around, or the Texas rig, messing around with the swim jig a little bit too. That's what we're gonna do. Crush swim jig. Whoop. Oh, almost lost him. Stay down. Chill, chill, chill. It's like 2.5 pounds. Awesome. Just moved spots. Working my way back into a creek. Water temp 61 out here. We're basically on at the mouth of a creek, working our way into it. Picked up this swim jig to throw around this old duck blind and cypress tree. He wanted it. This is a Guggen and Ketchko swim jig. It's called the Grass Hero, and a rattling chunk on the back, June bug. That fish was sitting like right in the middle of that thing, and I made 2 casts through it too. Oh my god! That was the most awkward hook set of all time. Like, I reeled down to it, the fish was running away at the same time. Oh, is that the fish? Oh, I'm looking at him. I see him under that dock. See if he eats it this time. Oh, there's actually two bass under there. Oh yeah! Oh my god, he smokes that thing. Awesome. Swim jig, same swim jig, switched the trailer up though. Went from the craw to a small saucy swimmer. Another decent fish. The fish was up in these little pads. These are weird, they're small pads. I don't know why they don't get any bigger, but they're like this size all year. But he was up in that stuff. Throwing this swim jig on a 7-foot medium heavy with 15-pound fluoro. I generally would tend to throw it on a little bit bigger rod, like 7.2, 7.3. Especially when you're making these really, really long casts and you're dealing with thick grass. Today it's not too bad, but you want to have a rod that's long enough and strong enough to keep the fish pinned and drive the hook in. The 7-foot's fine. I mean, you can get away with it. It's no big deal. 7-foot medium heavy is like the perfect all-around rod. If you want to get a little bit more in depth and technical with it, I would opt for a 7.3 medium heavy. I'm gonna go change some of these parameters. I'm gonna drop it down to 61. We're gonna see how it changes things up. So creature bait, bladed jig, so they added the chatterbait. Jig, fluke, buzzbait, jerkbait, spinnerbait, and walking bait. I'm gonna click into this swim bait, or this swim jig real quick. 8 for effectiveness, 9 for ease of use. Super easy bait to use, actually. If you go through the app, and especially if you're newer to fishing, these are super, super helpful. Like when someone says, you know, you got to fish structure, points or flats or channel swings, whatever it may be, pretty sweet that in the app, you can click any of these and it'll give you an example of exactly what these are. So this would be like at the back of a creek, a road or a bridge. So these are topographic maps, and this is how they will show up. Canal, like they use Google Earth imaging on here. Very, very cool. Cover, bank grass. So that's exactly what I'm fishing for the most part. Lily pads and bank grass, and I guess we can call docks too. There's not a lot of docks here, but you got some random duck blinds and the occasional dock. Even shows you a video with the retrieve of how to fish the swim jig. And again, you have all the gear. 7 foot to 7.6 heavy, 20 to 25 pound fluoro. That's sweet. I wonder what the deep, okay, so it actually doesn't have any deep strategies for today. And honestly, this place doesn't really have a whole lot of deep water. I think the average depth in here is like 6 feet. So, makes sense. So the other day after we got off Chick Lake, we ended up with 5 or 6 fish, and we had quite a few other bites. The swim jig bite was pretty good. We definitely had some good action on that. And then when we switched to flipping, we caught some doing that as well. So today I'm gonna be fishing a new lake, different lake. I think it's important to test these things when you're trying something out like this, and just to share with you guys the effectiveness of this app. So I'm on Lake Chesdin today here in Virginia. The water is super dirty. There might be 6 inches of clarity at best. The water temp when I launched was 58. I came back into a creek and the water temperature went all the way up to 64. So we've definitely got some warm temps, but I'm gonna take a look at the app real quick, see what it suggests. We're gonna try a few baits off of this, and I'm gonna pick some that I normally would not throw. All right, so you can see here we've got dirty water, 61 degrees. Thought that was a good point to set it at. We've got a light breeze, so I put yes for wind, and then yes, we do have vegetation. So we've got a black flipping jig, a creature bait, bladed jig, swim jig, buzz bait, jerk bait, spinner bait, plopping topwater, walking topwater. So there's 3 different topwaters on here, and normally I feel like on a day like today, especially smack dab in the afternoon, it's 1:15 right now, I wouldn't pick up a buzz bait. So I'm definitely gonna tie a buzz bait on, obviously go with a jig, creature bait, and probably a chatter bait too. Oh, wow. Is that a bass? Yes. Okay. Was that second cast with the buzzbait? All right. I'm kind of convinced, guys. Wow. Water temp right here is 57. It's fluctuating pretty drastically back in this creek. I honestly would not be throwing a buzzbait normally. So this was just a couple, maybe a few hours later. Didn't have much action going on. I'll talk about that in a bit, but boom! Throwing that white swim jig around. Ended up weighing this fish. It was like 392 or something close to there. I can't remember exactly. Awesome. All right. Gonna let her go. Very pale fish. Sitting like halfway out on one of these trees that are coming off the bank. So it's been a pretty slow afternoon. I've been out for 4-ish hours. I caught that first fish on the buzzbait, and then I had a pretty long lull. I went way up lake, which I don't have too much experience fishing here, but I just jumped pocket or creek to creek on my way up and went a pretty decent way. Realized that it just was not happening. I wasn't getting any bites, so I came back to this creek that I caught that buzzbait fish, and I mean, within 50 yards of where I caught that first one. Just slow rolling it on the bottom. So this afternoon I've caught the one on the buzzbait. I've had one bite on a spinnerbait in one of the creeks up lake, and then I just caught that fish on the swim jig. Oh, that was sick. Oh, good fish. He's stunned. Ah, white swim jig through the grass. Same thing. I'm up on a flat about halfway back into this creek. This fish came off the grass, but it seems like they're definitely pushed up onto the flats. I really wish I didn't run way up lake. It seems like that could have been a bit of an issue for the day, but I'm trying to close it out strong. Let's see what we got. Chill. 386. Right. Take that. Another good one. See you. So I forgot to mention to you guys, I switched it over to the sunset setting. And we pretty much have the same baits as the afternoon. That swim jig is on there, and they recommended a black and blue swim jig, which honestly, that is the first thing that I would think of throwing in this watercolor. Like, if you can see this white jig, it might be 6 inches of clarity, but black and blue or straight black is normally what I'd go with in this kind of watercolor. But I've also found that sometimes throwing something like white really stands out, especially if you're fishing it somewhat shallow. It creates like a contrast in the water, and sometimes that white bait, it'll give off an orb and it just looks super bright. So I threw a white one on. I was throwing a darker colored one earlier, but there we go. All right, getting out of here. All right, you guys, well, there you have it. That was 2 days of some really fun spring bass fishing. I honestly wish I was out today, but I've been editing and working on the boat a little bit. But it was really cool to be able to utilize Deep Dive and check out all of its capabilities. I really think that it's a helpful app. Whether you're a new fisherman or an experienced angler, I definitely would recommend it. It's not just something that you use and rely on, because there's, in my opinion, never going to be an app that you can look at and it can tell you exactly what to do. So you're still going to have to use a bit of your own skills that you've acquired through the years, or whether it's through the months, whether you're a new fisherman or experienced again. But being able to take some of those suggestions in, like when I caught that fish on the buzzbait, or throwing a swim jig when that's not a bait that I tend to throw enough, truly, it'll help you catch more fish. And if you're open-minded, it might put you on a pattern that you would have never found by yourself. So it's something cool to check out if you guys are interested in it. I'm going to leave it linked down in the description below. Huge thanks to Deep Dive for sponsoring this video and allowing me to try it out. I'm, again, really impressed by it, really stoked. And Johnny told me that they also have some really cool updates coming in the near future that I think will be helpful beyond just figuring out what baits to throw or where to throw them. But it's going to be more information, taking a deeper dive into your lake. So I don't think I can give any of that information away, but there are some very, very cool features coming beyond what they already have on Deep Dive. So don't miss the bus on this one. Make sure you click the link down in the description below, download Deep Dive, check it out, and go catch some more fish. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure that you leave me a comment down below if you've checked Deep Dive out. Let me know how it lines up if you were to go out today on your local lake and go fish. Let me know if the patterns on there kind of match what you would normally do, or if there was anything way off the wall that you normally wouldn't try out. Something to keep in mind. It's good to be open-minded. It's cool to try new things, and sometimes they'll help you catch a lot more fish. Hit that subscribe button for me, and if not for me, then for Moose. And we'll see you guys on the next one.